This episode of Yesterworld is sponsored by Verve. With Verve, you can watch Nickelodeon shows of the past, and now with Boomerang, they have all of your favorite classic cartoons of the past, so stay tuned after the video to learn more. And to start your ad-free 30-day trial of Verve Premium, check out the link in the description or go to vrv.co/yesterworld. Whenever a Disney attraction closes, you're bound to go through what I call the 7 stages of closure grief. However, in some cases, a little is left behind to remind you of what once was. So let's explore 5 traces and remnants of extinct Disney theme park attractions. As part of Tomorrowland's 1967 makeover at Disneyland, among the other new attractions like Adventure Through Inner Space and the Carousel of Progress was the People Mover and the new Tomorrowland stage. The Tomorrowland stage was very prominent in the park's early years, from hosting TV specials to musical performances, and even the 1969 broadcast of the moon landing. The same goes for the People Mover, as it was a favorite among visitors for many, many years. Sorry, I gotta shoehorn this in really quickly because I spent hours upon hours for my Carousel of Progress video trying to find footage of the original Epcot model aboard the People Mover. Of course, only after the episode I finally found some, and while it's honestly not much, it gives you a great idea of just how massive this thing was, as it takes the People Mover over 15 seconds to get across the entire model. Okay, where were we? With the arrival of Space Mountain in 1977, the stage was given another update, and from the ride's original escalator entrance, visitors could now view the stage from its queue, which served as a balcony of sorts. But the stage was removed less than 10 years later to make way for Captain EO.
Michael Jackson and Disney, huh? You just can't go wrong with that, can you?
Tomorrowland saw another major change when the People Mover closed in 1995 for the now-defunct Rocket Rods. Now, in previous episodes, I've already talked about some of the remnants of the People Mover, like the boarded-up windows in Space Mountain and the extended queue for Star Tours, but other traces of both of these abandoned Tomorrowland highlights still remain today. The next time you're in line for Space Mountain, you may notice one of the only remnants of the original escalator entrance that led to the balcony/queue. You can also see the clamps left over from the awnings that hung over the crowd at the original Tomorrowland stage. As a matter of fact, the entire outdoor queue of Space Mountain is basically where the Tomorrowland stage used to be, and many of the structures remain today. As far as the People Mover, the platform and pole for the original and iconic sign can be found here as well. Not only that, but if you go inside Buzz Lightyear Space Traders, while they've since been repainted, the checkout counter is made up of parts from the original People Mover cars. And while it's long since gone with Rocket Rod's closure in the year 2000, it's worth mentioning that for a time you could see intact People Mover cars in the queue along with the original mouse rail. Though I do understand the decision to replace Maelstrom with Frozen was smart from a business perspective, I'm still trying to get over the loss of such a special attraction. But where I draw the line is replacing the former remnants of the old Viking playground with an Anna and Elsa meet and greet. Too far, Disney, too far. All of this aside, among the various tributes to Maelstrom spread throughout the attraction's queue and pavilion, a couple elements of the original ride still remain. Now, there are a few more obvious remnants of Maelstrom, such as the original boats and the same track layout, but a couple are a little more obscure. The first you'll come across is with the appearance of the Ice Castle, as the light that shines behind to illuminate the structure is left over from Odin's Eye. And if you remember in Maelstrom, when you approached the 3-headed troll that sent you backwards, there was an impressive lighting effect in the sky, or ceiling. In Frozen Ever After, the original lighting effect was included in the new scene alongside the others. And if you remember those adorable puffins, while they were taken away from their original position, they can still be found in the attraction after the drop.
Nice limo.
Is there a prince inside?
Sorry, girls, but any interest in a 100-foot grizzly bear?
When Disney's California Adventure made its debut in 2001, it was hailed as not only one of the best Disney parks, but one of the greatest parks in the US. Wait, no, sorry, that's for my April Fool's video. The park was a major disappointment, both from the opinions of visitors and how well it did financially, and included the most hated ride, one of the most hated rides in Disney park history. Cheap, lazy, and lacking of any real Disney magic, Superstar Limo was so despised by visitors that it closed just a year after opening. In its place would be Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the rescue. It's a charming ride and far better than Superstar Limo, but you might be surprised at just how much exists of the former attraction. Upon walking into Mike and Sully to the rescue, the attraction's identical queue, ride vehicles, and first scene are the most obvious remains of Superstar Limo, but that's only the beginning, as virtually all of the figures of the many celebrities are still in the attraction today, only disguised as the agents of the CDA. Some are easier to spot than others, but they all have little details that show which ones are which. For most of them, just look at where their knees and arms are bent. For this one, it looks like they just used the armature from the Regis character, or maybe it's just a bizarre tribute. However, the most interesting / disturbing part of this whole thing is that underneath their outfits are the original figures, but what makes this disturbing is knowing that in some cases, certain limbs would have had to be removed, making this the perfect contender if they ever decide to do a Mickey's So Scary Halloween party. Now it's time to talk about everyone's favorite attraction, Journey into Imagination with Figment. I'm sorry, I meant Journey into Imagination, period.
How dare you stand where he stood?
All jokes aside, there are few attractions with the same level of frustrating history as Journey into Imagination, turning what was once a truly magical experience into Disney's worst attraction. Okay, arguably Disney's worst attraction. The backlash was so severe after its 1999 abomination that just over 6 months later it was closed and reworked to be slightly less awful. But what I love the most about the attraction as it stands today are all the traces of the original layout of the original version. And with a little imagination, you can visualize yourself in the iconic first scene of the ride. But there's even more, as while the upstairs portion is now a Disney Vacation Club lounge, it used to be the second floor of the original Imageworks. For many years, the activities were abandoned and left behind, and were often a part of Epcot's behind-the-scene tours. But even today, though most of the original Imageworks is gone, a few elements remain behind the walls, though currently there's no way to see them. And while blocked off, you can still find the original escalators leading down from Imageworks. For the last trace, you'll have to hop on over to what's currently known as the Disney and Pixar Film Festival. If this area seems oddly structured, it's because it used to be the walkway that took visitors from the ride's show building into what at the time was the Magic Eye Theater. But maybe the coolest remnant can be found over at the Disney Gear Shop, as it contains a portion of one of the original Dreamcatcher vehicles. When Disneyland opened in 1955, alongside Main Street's other eateries and shopping locations was the Hollywood Maxwell Intimate Apparel Shop. Don't worry, this is still safe for any of the little ones watching. Before entering, you were greeted by a fetching young lady rocking back and forth in a rocking chair, where inside, a magical experience awaited you. Believe it or not, this was more than just a place to purchase intimates like the latest brasiers, corsets, and pantaloons, but featured an attraction based off the company's mascot, the wonderful Wizard of Bras.
You're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of
Bras.
You'll find he is a wizard of whiz, if ever a whiz there was.
A mechanical figure on a revolving stage interacted with visitors with the help of a tape recorder, where a demonstration was held showing just how much undergarments had changed over the years. There were also 3D viewing boxes showing clothed models from various time periods that, as you turned your head, revealed their underwear as a way to see just how much intimate fashion had changed over the decades. The store and attractions within only lasted 6 months to a year, with the interior space becoming an extension of the china and glass shop. But what's remarkable is that aside from a new paint job, the exterior of the former Wizard of Bras remains identical to how it appeared in 1955. As far as what happened to the woman in the rocking chair, the closure of the shop left the poor gal heartbroken, and she passed away in 1969, becoming the official 999th resident of the Haunted Mansion. So the following segments are more of a bonus, as while I've mentioned these as little tidbits in previous episodes, I wanted to include them here as well. So think of this as 5 quick traces of extinct Disney theme park attractions within this video of 5 traces of yeah, you get the idea. When the Disneyland Skyway debuted in 1956, it not only gave visitors an amazing view of the park, but an incredible look inside the Matterhorn. Even if there wasn't much to take in, it was a pretty cool experience nonetheless. When the Skyway closed in 1994, the Matterhorn underwent a pretty massive refurbishment. When the attraction reopened, inside the Crystal Cavern there was now a tribute to the former president of the Walt Disney Company, who had tragically passed away the previous year. However, in 2015, alongside new animatronics, the Crystal Cavern was given a makeover and now included actual pieces of the original Skyway buckets. If you were a fan of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea over at the Magic Kingdom, there are several tributes to the ride throughout New Fantasyland. Some are more subtle than others, but they're some of my favorite Easter eggs of a past attraction. However, as far as the actual submarines, though most of them were abandoned and scrapped for parts, 2 were relocated to Disney's Castaway Cay. Information is really scarce on what happened to the submarine on the right, but the one painted in red was submerged in the water as a diving location, where it remains today, even if it's no longer on the actual map. But be warned that time and weather conditions have not been kind to this relic of the past, and is only a shadow of its former self. But there was actually a 3rd submarine that was spared, well, part of it at least, and was relocated to the pre-show of MGM Studios' Backlot Tour. This was eventually removed and for a time could be seen at the park if you knew where to look, but now it can occasionally be seen on display at various Disney events. If, like me, you were understandably upset about the closure of Magic Kingdom Snow White in favor of a princess meet and greet, it might help you to feel better to know that traces still exist today on the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. When going up the first lift hill, you can spot the original vultures from the Dark Forest, and when the ride comes to a stop, you'll see a cabin. Inside are a handful of the original dwarf animatronics from the ride's second incarnation, and the animals from the original, terrifying version, which explains the horrified look on their faces. Over by Magic Kingdom's Haunted Mansion is an area that may seem to exist solely as an extended queue, but originally this was actually the loading and unloading dock for the Mike Fink keelboats. As far as the original version over at Disneyland, you can still find remnants of the dock over in New Orleans Square. With the closure of Stitch's Great Escape, you might have missed the chance to see this one, but the animatronics in the pre-show were left over from the controversial alien encounter. But the coolest remnant was a lot harder to see if you didn't know exactly where to look. As many of you already know, the original name of the fictional company in the ride was Excess Tech, and just before entering the theater in Stitch, you could find the logo on one of the machines. However, unlike the subjects in this video, you don't have to look around for traces of your favorite cartoons of the past, because they're already on Verve. With Verve, you can watch the Nickelodeon shows you grew up with, and now with Boomerang, you can binge through your favorite classic cartoons of the past, like the Smurfs, the Jetsons, Scooby-Doo, and many more. But Verve has way more to offer than just Nickelodeon and Boomerang, so whether you're a fan of anime, documentaries, or independent cartoons like The Bravest Warrior, they have something for just about everyone. Best of all, you can download the app on your favorite devices and watch your favorite shows on the go, anywhere, anytime. You can even download episodes to your device for offline viewing. So to get started, just click on the link in the description to start your ad-free 30-day trial of Verve Premium today. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share the video, and I'll see you next time in Yesterworld.